Good afternoon, everybody. Back into the markets. I think I'm getting a message saying the connection is a slow one. I don't know. So that means you might get a bit of buffering at your end. I've done nothing different my end, but such is the wonder of technology, isn't it? So if you're new to this, do this every Friday usually. Quick catch up with markets. Look ahead to next week. I had a great holiday, thanks very much. I had a couple of weeks driving down south of France, Spain, back. Chat GPT, planning great driving roads. It's really impressive. It was real practical use of it. Find me a good road between A and B. And some interesting routes down there. But back to reality now, back to the screens. I think it's been a good few weeks for me because, as a trend follower, we've got great trends. I've traded the DAX a bit. I mean, I'm still in the DAX trade. Dollar index a bit as well. We've had a good trend there. Got taken out of that on Wednesday on that craziness when President Trump said he was going to get rid of the head of the Fed, blah blah. It's been really good, and the trends are back. So let's get into it. So as usual, what I'll do with this, we'll have a look at the major markets, indices, FX, Bitcoin, gold, oil, all that sort of stuff. If there's any stuff you want looking at, just put it in the chat on YouTube, and that is it. Let's just do a quick housekeeping. This presentation is only for educational purposes. It does not contain and should not be construed as containing investment advice or an investment recommendation or an offer of or solicitation for a transaction in any financial instrument. David Jones accepts no responsibility for any use that may be made of these comments and for any consequences that result. You should consider whether you understand how spread bets, CFDs, futures, foreign exchange work, and whether you can afford to take the high risk of losing your money. Trading is risky. Okay, I am somewhat underprepared. Quelle surprise, as they say in French. I haven't picked out the main bullet points to watch next week, but to go through, let's go quickly through the economic calendar for next week. It looks a little bit quiet the beginning of the week, to be honest, but it picks up a bit as the week goes on. So Tuesday, not a lot. Monday, nothing really. Wednesday, nothing really of any importance. And then on Thursday, it's the EU, the European Central Bank interest rate decision, by the looks of it. It looks like no changes expected there, but there's the press conference, so we can sometimes have a little bit of volatility around that. Later on the day, there's some global manufacturing PMI data for the US. This is all Thursday. Japanese inflation data, late Thursday night UK time. And then Friday, nothing of any note anyway. So it's a bit of a quiet week next week, to be honest. But still interesting for markets with what's going on. I run a WhatsApp group. We'll talk about that in the break. For now, let's get into the markets. So as usual, let's start off with US indices. Here we are. The good times are rolling again. So S&P over the last couple of weeks made fresh all-time highs, taking out the old highs from February after that massive sell-off that we saw, of course, into April. So this is the in-session official S&P index. A new all-time high just about yesterday, scraped to on yesterday. 63.04 was the high yesterday during the in-session. 63.02 was the high from Tuesday. And we're through that again today. Yeah, bye. So for me, as usual, my approach, big fan of the S&P and the Nasdaq over the years, is be a buyer of the dip. So the only thing I want to do, if there's any weakness, I want to be a buyer. That was that spike on Wednesday when President Trump, it came out, he was talking about maybe getting rid of the chairman of the Fed, Mr. Powell. The old lows held, the old spiky lows from earlier in the week held. So 6,200, I think, as a rough rule of thumb, big level for the S&P at the moment. And I'd be a buyer. What can you say? It's a market that goes up, isn't it? Anybody who's ever bought the S&P at any point in history, like an ETF or something, and still has it, they're all making money. Yeah, if they bought it, as long as they bought it before Tuesday, anytime between Tuesday and 1929, they're all making money. So so I've been getting back into NASDAQ and S&P ETFs in my pension because the long term trend is up, and blah, blah. Here we are. So interesting to see where it ends the week, but clearly it's a market, US markets, with a lot of momentum still. Breakouts are positive. Here we are. NASDAQ's arguably a bit stronger than the S&P. If we flip it to the dailies, we had, again, there's the all-time high. There's the breakout, 25th of June. All-time high earlier this week, the 15th on Tuesday. All-time high again yesterday at, where was it yesterday? What was the high, official high? 23,105. And we're a smidgen higher at the moment. Just backed off a bit after that spiky opening. So I mean, if we get a sell-off, it's interesting. And I'd be a buyer of the dip. That's it really. Buy the dip. European markets similar, but a little bit different. I mean, even the FTSE. I did a trade on the FTSE when I was away. I forgot about that. I was in that trade for about a week, and that did well. But even the FTSE is at all-time highs, or it was on Tuesday of this week. 8,900 on the downside has been good support for the FTSE for 2 weeks, 2 and a bit weeks now. So even that's going up. The DAX hit a fresh all-time high on last Thursday, a week yesterday. So I bought the dip in the DAX on Friday. It was under a bit of pressure last Friday, under a bit of pressure earlier on Monday when we had all that tariff, Mexico and EU tariff talk over the weekend. But it's bounced back. Let's see if we can get a move on. So I don't know. So for me, those markets are still positive. With stock markets, I'd still be a buyer of the dip. The Australian market, interestingly enough, I thought, the Aussie 200, those were the highs from Feb. And of course, sells off like everything else sold off. But broke out. That's quite the violent breakout today. So it had been knocking its head, the Aussie 200, knocking its head against the February highs, and burst through them today in their trading today. So that's an interesting one, I think, to watch next week. The Aussie index. That's had some good trends, over the years, going back to the COVID lows. What was it on the COVID lows? About 4,500, and where are we now? Just 8,700. So not quite doubled. So so that's all positive. Stock market's positive, really interesting. The Spanish, what's the Spanish doing? Not that much at the moment. The French, again a bit, not that much. And the Italian did nudge out to a new all-time high in early in July. Yeah, Hang Seng. Let's do the Asian ones. Hang Seng. Hang Seng is a bit. Hang Seng again is gearing up, isn't it? I often moan about this. I've missed the buy twice in the Hang Seng for my pension, but there you go. What are you saying, Kevin? Any thoughts on Hang Seng up to just under 25? Double top with March or power on for higher highs? I mean, I would be going with the trend at the moment. Let's see what next week brings. Those previous highs, like you say, let's round it up to 25,000 in the Hong Kong Hang Seng. Let's see. I mean, these markets, again, you could argue since the rallies we've seen in April in global stock markets, you could absolutely argue that they're overstretched with the bounce we've seen. So, let's not think it's just going to go up every day for the rest of 2025. So they absolutely could wear a bit of a sell-off, I think, a bit of a correction, but I think that's a buying opportunity. But that Hang Seng is an interesting one for next week. Yeah, so for me, I'd be thinking we're going to get a breakout, but if you thought, well, do you know what, this market's gone too far, it's the perfect place to go short, isn't it? Stops above 25 or whatever, 25,000. Let's see. So yeah, stock market's all positive. That's it. That's it for stock markets. Let's have a look at, what should we look at next? The dollar index. And we'll look at some currencies. I was in this trade. Again, I think I put the trade on. I think again, was I away? Yeah, I was away. Maybe in here somewhere. So 2 weeks last Tuesday or whenever, or a week last Tuesday, because it had a good trend going on the dollar index, and arguably it's a buy right now, the dollar index. But I think it's quite a mixed picture. I think because absolutely, so this is the dollar against a basket of 9 different currencies, whatever they are, all the usual suspects. And it's been on the slide since the end of Jan. So absolutely, the big trend is down in the dollar index. So that the textbook approach in that time zone would be to be a seller of the strength. But it does have these intermediate trends that do okay. So that's the trend. This is the trend for July, and it's still up. And arguably it's a buy. If I was a buyer now, I would probably want to stop below that spiky low from Wednesday. Excuse me, 97.70, which is only 50 points below where it is now. So interesting. That's an interesting one for next week, I think, the dollar index. So that's that. And of course, with this dollar strength, it does put pressure on other markets. I mean, I thought the pound against the dollar was interesting. The pound was, beginning of July, was at 138 and has been down below 134 briefly. But again, the pound has come back to its trend for the year, which of course makes sense because the dollar is in that downtrend for the year. So lots of things quoted against the dollar will have been doing well this year. And here's the pound, So if I thought, do you know what, the dollar's going to weaken and I want to be a buyer of the pound, I'm going to buy it here with a stop, I don't know, below 134 somewhere. I'm not doing it yet. I think it's an interesting market. Again, it's another interesting one for next week, but so much depends obviously on what happens with the US dollar. And I'm guessing the euro isn't going to look a million miles different. No, there we go. So there's the euro against the dollar. Perhaps not quite as clear cut a trend as the pound. Oh, go away. As the dollar, the pound against the dollar. But, similar stuff. Let's see what happens. And gold's been boring, I think. It's been a great year for gold. It's still up a bucket load for the year. It ended 2024 at 26.25, and it's at 3.3 at the moment. So that's $700 higher, isn't it? So that's about, 25% higher for the year, something like that. Yeah, 20% plus anyway for the year. But it's been a bit sideways since we saw those all-time highs hit in April. So only a couple of months ago. It's all been a bit sideways, isn't it? Gold, there we go. The dollar strength, not really helping there. So nothing too exciting for me in gold. It's just a bit chop at the moment, that one. But, it has had a good year overall. Silver, there's argument for being a buyer in silver, I think, because, it has these breakouts. It broke out just on Monday of this week. That's the best levels since, 2011. So that was nearly a 14-year high on Monday this week. Sells off a bit and it's bounced. If I had to do anything, I'd be a buyer of silver. It can be a bit erratic, it breaks out and then it goes nowhere. But I mentioned it in the WhatsApp group I run earlier this week, and I said if I was a buyer, I'd probably want to give it a bit of a room and have a stop under $36 an ounce for silver. But that's been interesting. There's a roughly drawn trend line over the last whatever it is, couple of months or so in silver, but that's that's breaking out. That looks interesting. Bitcoin, of course, we've got to mention the old crazy crypto. Breakouts there. We had the breakout in May, got a bit choppy, didn't really go anywhere. Had the breakout again and all-time highs in the coin this week. So again, I'd have to be a buyer. So it hit above 123. If I was a buyer, I'd probably want a stop under 108 or something like that, at least, where it was before the breakout. But that's strong, clearly. So and with all of this stuff, as with stock markets, I think when we get these breakouts, that's a positive sign. And for me, it's all about, well, where does it go when the sell-off starts? If a sell-off starts, where do the buyers come back in? Blah blah. So, but interesting. That's obviously showing strength as well. Oil's a bit boring. I do have a trade on oil, and I've had it on for ages. I've had it on since about here. 24th of June. I'm 3 weeks into it and it's just flip-flopping around. I did, we had this big sell-off in oil. Was it when OPEC, I can't even remember. I think OPEC over a weekend said they were going to up production or something, whatever. But I bought it thinking the move has been overdone and it's just flip-flopping around. It's Funny old market at the moment, oil. So I'd rather be a buyer than a seller, but it's done nothing in 3 weeks, and here we are. Big picture, you could argue the trend in oil is down since that post-Ukraine invasion high, which was 3 years ago now. But yeah, I'm long at the moment to see if it bounces, but it hasn't. Not much anyway. So it's a bit just boring, oil at the moment. Natural gas on the dailies, I think looks a bit similar. There we go, dailies, natural gas. Let's remove all that stuff. That's a bit boring as well. I mean, if you look at this year, there you go, look at that. I mean, I'd rather be a buyer than a seller. And 285 or thereabouts has been good support. But it doesn't really find that much momentum and then establish a big trend, really, does it? So bit dull, natural gas. What else was I going to look at? Palladium. I saw Richard mention palladium. I had a look at it this morning, actually. It was interesting. Palladium's an interesting one as well. It's been dull for a long time, or drifty. I think I mentioned it quite a lot, that I traded it a lot in 2018, 2019 off the daily chart and basically just sat with the trade. It was absolutely brilliant because it just went up in a straight line, and then traded it again a bit here, gave back a whole bucket load in the COVID sell-off. Then it all went a bit loopy, and then it's just been, since 2022, it's just been selling off. And then over the last 18 months, it's been sideways until the last 2 days. So this break in palladium through 1250, I think that's another interesting market to watch next week. Is it a false break? Does it sell off back into the range? Is this the start of a bigger recovery in palladium? Blah blah blah. Lots to watch in that one this week. We're only like a day and a half into the breakout, but I think that's an interesting market for next week. Palladium. As usual, I'm going to wait and see. Here we go. We're having a bit of a sell off at the moment. I'm going to wait and see how far the sell off goes. But if I was thinking about buying at the moment, then I'd want to stop the other side of at least the lows from this Tuesday, so 11.70 an ounce. So I think that's an interesting market for next week. So see what happens there with palladium. It's what's that? That's the highest it's been since August 23, so nearly a 2-year high. Why is palladium rising? So palladium, it goes into catalytic converters, isn't it? Palladium, is that the only use? Oh no, it does say, here's a story, 90% of its demand is from the car industry. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Spot palladium, biggest factor. The wider appeal, which they're talking about platinum. Palladium is mainly used in catalytic converters for gasoline vehicles, while platinum has broader, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, there we go. Let's see what happens to that. So what's platinum doing? Platinum's down on the day. Oh, I was in the platinum trade before. I did come out of it. I should have got back in again. So yeah, platinum's had a great run again, from 880 to... It's nearly doubled, hasn't it? Not quite doubled. But again, a big breakout in platinum. So we need to load up on precious metals. Are they precious metals? They are, aren't they? I don't know. Or metals, whatever they are. Interesting. But interesting, both of those markets for next week because of the breaks that have happened. So and copper. I mean, copper had the move the other week because of tariffs were being imposed. It's been a bit sideways since then, hasn't it? Aluminium. Anything going on there? Not a lot going on with the old aluminum. And that's it. So for me, lots to watch next week. These markets are strong. These US indices and some of the European markets. I'm in the DAX trade. Let's see if that bounces back a bit. I've always got some exposure. Most of my pension, I've said it before, is S&P and NASDAQ ETFs. So when they're doing well, the 60-plus-year-old version of me feels happy. So, let's see what's happened. Oil's a bit boring. Gold's a bit boring. Platinum, palladium, Bitcoin, strong. So, plenty to watch next week. So, what we'll do now, we'll look at the stuff you want looking at. Before that, a quick commercial break. So, even though I've been absent from YouTube for 3 weeks, the hard work doesn't stop. I run a WhatsApp group. I update it every day in the morning and in the afternoon. A daily update for me. Markets I'm watching, trades I'm thinking about, where I put my stop, all that sort of stuff. Trades I'm running, Q&A. If anyone's got any questions during the day, they can fire them in, and I give them an opinion. You should try it. If you like the stuff, the YouTube stuff, it's like that but better. If you sign up, you can sign up and try it for a month. There's a link in the description to this video. Use the code YouTube. You get 20% off the first month. I do regular webinars every month. The most recent one, it's actually more recent than this one, but it was on day trading indices, where to play stops, The most recent one was a new trading approach that I'm trying. So you get access to all these webinars. You'll have access to the last recorded one, and you'll have access to the next live one. So blah, blah, blah. Just do it. Try it and see what you think. If you want to find out who I trade with, go to bit.ly/David Trade. It's all in the description to the video. And if you have any questions, drop me an email, dj@davidjonestrading.co.uk. I don't have all the answers, but I've been doing it for a long time. And that's it. I'm putting a video up tomorrow on YouTube, which again is quite a rare thing. So I think it's going to be a really useful video. It's another one with me and my old colleague Will, and we talk about the most important thing in trading, which is not having 6 trading screens and a super fast internet connection. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, if you subscribe, you get notified when that goes out. So there you go. That's all that. Right, let's have a look at anything you want looking at. There is a trade. When did I do that? I did that a while ago. In the live. This is the live stream trading account, so it's real money. So I bought that on a live stream there. So that's done all right. Who's that? Kroger company. It'd be good if they could break out a bit. That's up about 40 quid. Excellent. Uptrend on euro yen, but near resistance levels. Euro yen. Let's have a look at those. Euro yen. Wow, it's good, isn't it? Yeah, let's have a look at sterling yen in a minute actually as well. Yeah, it's been a good uptrend there, hasn't it? But you're right. It's a big old level. Oh, it's still 250 points away, isn't it? Interesting to see if that one breaks out. It looks a bit like sterling yen, which I was in and got chopped out of and got fed up of in the end. Does that look similar? Oh yeah, sterling yen is right on its own big level. That's maybe one to watch next week. You know, take the dollar out of the equation. That's had a good run, hasn't it, since April? 183, and now it's nearly 200. It's big. It's nearly a 10% move in sterling against the yen. Anyway, yeah. So I buy the dip on that one. Let's see what they do next week. Can you talk about Disney and Maersk? I think they are bottoming. So Disney, Walt Disney Company, the Walt Disney Company. Oh, got a right bunch of random lines on that, haven't we? Disney's a bit boring to me, right? I would say, I mean, this is, what's that? This is the last 3 years. Disney, if I had to do anything on Disney, I'd go short Disney. Yeah, because we're at the top of the range. So the last 3 years, Disney has been in a sideways range. Yeah. So I'd be a seller of Disney at the moment. If it breaks out, let's call it 130. If it breaks 130, I'd change my mind. But it hasn't done a lot, has it? So I think for me, the risk is it gets pushed back into the range. So yeah, not too excited by that one at the moment. Let's actually do that. Shall we do it? Let's take a bit of risk on a Friday afternoon. Make us feel alive. So 126.5 is the thingy. Let's sell them. So we're going to sell them. What are we going to say for a stop? Let's go 132 stop. 132. 132. What's my risk? Let's only risk. Let's not go crazy. Need some money for the pub later. 50 quid risk. Sell. Done. I think that's done. Did that go through? Yes. There you go. So I'm selling. So I think it's at the top of the range, and maybe it's going to drop back into the range. But if it goes to 132, I'll get stopped out. Let's see. Let's see what happens to that one. And Maersk, which is the container company, isn't it? Maersk. Okay. Maersk. Which listing is it? I always struggle. What do you reckon? Let's have a look. See what they look like. Maersk A shares on the OMX COP. Again, I can see it's all a bit sideways again, isn't it? You know, and I think, well, considering what stock markets have done the last few years, Maersk has been a little bit sideways. So I'd be tempted to go short on that one as well. to be honest. And again, if it breaks through these old highs, I change my mind. And maybe it will. Maybe if we have, broader strength in stock markets, we will see some strength in these markets. But I'd rather buy something that was in an uptrend already, if you know what I mean. Like it was sort of back there, the old Maersk. So yeah, let's see if it breaks out. So let's come back to them maybe a couple of weeks and see what they look like. Then. Small stock, WLF. TerraWolf, bought in SIP at just over 3 and now over $5.50. Would you take a profit or follow the trend for a bit longer? Let's have a look. Interesting one, isn't it? I would. If it was me, I'd be sticking with it because it hit a new recovery high today, hasn't it? So I'd be tempted to think there's a little bit more juice left in the TerraWolf tank. But it's how much room do you give it, isn't it? So if you bought them at $3.50, $3, and you nearly doubled your money, haven't you? So I'd be tempted to have, I don't know, yeah, definitely give it a bit more time, but take a bit of profit on a pullback. But no, it looks good, doesn't it? What do they do? Technology services, whatever. So yeah, but no, I'd be a buyer of a dip on that as well, of the Dippio dip. So yeah, nice one. You can retire a little bit early there, Kev. So yeah, nice little run. There we go. So I mean, where would you put, if I was a buyer now, where would I put a stop? I would go probably the other side of what's that level there? $4.50. Because it's breaking out again, so below perhaps those lows before this breakout. Interesting though, isn't it? QuantumScape, EV batteries. Okay, love a bit of EV action. QuantumScape Corporation. Oh my God, what's happened there? Wow, so that's gone from, where was it? Let's call it $6. About 4 weeks ago to $14. Has been a great stock in my SIP. Do these runs go on forever? Well, no, we know that. Well, but they don't, because we've had them in the past, haven't we? Like here, ba-bang, ka-chunk, ba-bang, ka-chunk. Yeah, wow. I mean, if I was in that's great, isn't it? I'd have a tight trading stop on it though, because this is why. All right, I'm curious now. Why is the crazy QuantumScape price? Have they done a deal with somebody? Do you think? Scape price rising. Oh God. Do you know what? There's a press release there, and I don't understand a word of it. After achieving an important milestone in its baseline cell production capabilities with the integration of the advanced Cobra separator process. Well, at least that clears that up, eh? Game-changing solid-state battery breakthrough. Oh, they do say, don't they? That's going to be the future, isn't it? Of more battery capacity and all of that. Okay. Oh, but then again, I'd be tempted to think, is this an element of buy the rumour, sell the news? Interesting one for next week. Let's see what happens. But yeah, that's a cracking run, isn't it? It depends, isn't it? If you think eventually they're going back to $130 a share, you sort of stick with it, wouldn't you? But yeah, I'd be surprised if it didn't drop back a bit, but interesting to see how far it drops back. So interesting one. Let's see where we are next week. Valaris and Paladin Energy. Interesting, isn't it? It's a bit. I reckon that this is one of these where you could make the argument to be a buyer or a seller, right? So if you were saying, I'm going to be a seller of Valaris, well, they've been sliding for nearly a year now. We've had a rally. It's going to run out of steam, go short with a stop above 54, for example. That would be the argument for being short Valaris. The argument for being long, because again, if you are not you who's asked the question, obviously, Robert, but if you're one of these naive idiots who thinks that markets are always black and white. They're not, are they? There's always an argument, usually, to go long or short. So the argument for going long is it's been in an uptrend since April, so we're going to buy the dip. So I suppose at the moment, if I had to do anything, I'd be a buyer. I'd be a buyer of the dip. I'd put a stop under $41. That would be the trade I would do on Valaris at the moment. But I'd just be a bit wary. It's been sliding for much of the last 12 months. Is this rally going to run out of steam? Interesting one. Yeah, so the momentum, the short-term momentum, definitely with the bull side at the moment. But let's see, is this whole 50 to 54 going to be a problem again? And Paladin Energy. That looks the same, isn't it? How weird. That looks the same as Valaris. So again, you can make the argument. We looked at this before. I knew we looked at one of them before. Downtrend, downtrend, downtrend. Is this really a break? Is it just going to run out of steam again? Or is it the start of a new move higher again? I don't know. So again, in the short term, I'd be going with momentum. In the long term, I'd still be a bit more cautious. But let's see. Let's see what happens. I bought the previous top just over 760. What are we talking about there? We're talking about QuantumScape. QuantumScape, the EV doodah battery company. QuantumScape. Well, the two at 760, it fell back and then took off. Oh, okay. And you've got ENVX in my SIP. God, all these companies we've never heard of today. Interesting stuff. Okay, and they've gone like a rocket as well. Yeah, I would definitely be thinking about going short those. Yeah, so a bit of a mix of stuff today, but if there's no more questions, we'll wrap it up there. So it's a nice, gentle introduction back into me doing some actual work on a Friday afternoon. Stock markets still strong. What can you say? And I bet let's have a look at one of my favourite contrary indicators, a popular UK broker. If we look at the S&P, do we think they are mainly long or short? I'm going to have a look now. Right, bear with me. They're going to be short. I'm going to go for more than 60% of clients are short the S&P. I could be wrong. 54% short. Okay, with the popular. That's not that short, actually. What about the NASDAQ? 53% short. Okay, so again, as ever, market's hitting fresh all-time highs. Which way are most retail traders positioned? The other way, to where the market's going. There you go. It was ever thus. So, yeah, so for me, I'm expecting further gains, looking to be a buyer of the dip, blah, blah, blah. Someone's just sneaked in a quick American airline. Let's have a look at that. American Airlines Group. We looked at these before, haven't we? Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's been falling for 7 years now. It has at least bottomed out down here. It's having a bit of a bounce off the old support. So, yeah, I'd be a buyer, but I'd rather buy the S&P. It's just done nothing, has it, for 5 years? Maybe this time's different, but if I was a buyer looking for a long-term turnaround, I think I'd put a stop under $8 still. So going into next week, stock market's still strong. European stock markets, positive, but not as strong this week as the US has been. Bitcoin, breakout in Bitcoin over the last, whatever it's been, few days. That's interesting. These moves in palladium and platinum, is this just a one-day wonder and it drops back into the range? Dollar, are we going to get the bounce in the dollar this afternoon and continue this trend for July? So there's a lot to watch. And if you want more of that, then sign up to the WhatsApp group as previously discussed. All details in the description to this video. I'll put this video out tomorrow. It'll only be a short video. I think it's about 12-15 minute video when I finish doing it. I think that would be really interesting about what is actually important in trading. If you have any questions, you can always drop me an email, dj@davidjonestrading.co.uk. I do have a newsletter I do, again, meant to be weekly, very rarely is weekly. I'm going to send that out this weekend. Hopefully the link for that is in the description of this video as well. If not, I'll go and put it in afterwards. Otherwise, that's it. Okay. Interesting times in markets. It's been a good few weeks for me. The trends are back. Let's hope they stay. Let's see what happens. I hope it's been all right for you too. Good luck with your trading and see you all next week. Okay. Have a good weekend.